You're listening to ABA One-on-One Podcast.
The best way to keep up with everything happening around here at ABA One-on-One is to join our monthly newsletter. Just for joining, we give you $230 worth of free gifts from our sponsors once you confirm your email address. You can unsubscribe at any time, but why would you? Just go to our website, www.aba1on1.club, scroll to the bottom of the page, and subscribe. Hey guys, it's time for a new episode of ABA One-on-One.
Open up, yeah. Open up now. Open up. Open up, yeah. Open up. Open up now.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of ABA One-on-One. We got our boys back in the house. We got Ron, we got Brian, we got Rick. Ron Perry, former top ABA player back in the good old days. Welcome to ABA One-on-One. It's great having you here, man.
Hey, a good invite. I appreciate it. You get a chance to tell some ABA stories. It was one of the great times of my life after coming out of Virginia Tech and being able to be drafted by the Bullets, but deciding to go to the ABA. It was a great experience.
Awesome. And Rick, we're going to, as usual, you being the elder statesman, we always turn this thing over to you. We're going to let you jump on in and, tell us a little bit about how you guys met and, let's get on to the ABA back in the day. I know both of us, all of us have been around for it. So looking forward to hearing some good stories here.
Yeah. Well, in my backyard, which I won a lot of championships, college, and usually as fate will have it, I usually made the last second shot to win the game. I can't help but remember I beat out Gail Goodrich. Jerry West and I were in the backcourt, and then Virginia Tech was relatively close to my home, so I was a big Virginia Tech fan growing up, and I followed them very closely. I knew every player, and I knew what number they wore, and sometime I would emulate that player. And Ron and I played together a lot, and former of NBA head coach and player John Wetzel. I knew all the players, and so it was quite a spectacle in my backyard. We didn't have a whole lot of attendance, but occasionally I'd get my mom to come out and watch because I'd tell her right before I hit the game winner. A child's imagination is incredible. Growing up, and I was the only child. And I would, in my backyard, my grandfather put a backboard and a basket up, and that was like Madison Square Garden to me. Because
awesome.
You can have any player you want, you can do anything. You make sure you're always a hero at the end. And it was great. And of course, Ron was one of my my guys that I followed very closely when I was a kid. And I'm not implying he's older than me or nothing, but he is. But he was always one of the guys, and then to be able to play horse with him, which we'll talk about that in a few minutes, at a place called Roanoke College in Roanoke, Virginia. This camp they used to have every summer was fantastic. They had some pro basketball players, college basketball players. It was a who's who, and it was very good. So anyway, as I was saying, having Ron, being able to reconnect with him down in Miami when I moved to Florida, and went out to dinner a couple times, and then it was like a Christmas morning treat for me, growing up with him and whatnot, and I just so glad he decided to come on tonight.
Listen, you've got to tell them you were All-American for 15 straight years with nobody guarding you.
That's right. That's right.
Awesome.
I was always a high. Everybody's like that, though. Everybody like that. The older you get, the better you were.
The better you were. That's right. That's right.
Rick, you got to tell the story about. I think I won some things in the horse game off of you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
One thing that I remember for sure was, didn't I win your wristwatch?
Well, that was right after my class ring. But in those days, when you're young and you're 17, 18, 19, 20, you always think you're a heck of a lot better than you really are. And then that's only natural. So, I'm working the camp, and I thought I could shoot a little bit. I'm a pretty good player, I thought. Not nearly as good as I thought, but, again, you got to have a sense of imagination and whatnot. So Ron and I are going to play horse. And I'm thinking, this guy, I'm thinking I might get a little money from him. I'm trying to be like a little shark, trying to win a little money. And that was a big mistake in itself, start playing for money. If we're just playing for fun and playing for the kids in camp, watch us play and whatnot. So we started playing. And Ron was known as a spider because of his arms, the length of his arms. This will come into play here in just a minute. And he had those extra long arms, not just long arms, but extra long arms, where he's got to have the special shirts where he's on. So, what's that got to do with anything? So we playing, and first game, I think I may have won, and that was his plan. I think, let me win a game. So my confidence is up a little bit. So he said, "That's a nice class ring you got there." I said, "Yeah, you got to believe it." I said, "You want to put the money against it? Well, I'll put it up." And I think I went out HORSE real quick. So I said, "Now I got to get my we're not doing this." He said, "What about that watch?" I said, No, you're not getting my Bolivar watch. I said, I ain't worried about that. So now I'm going to be serious. I'm going to start really shooting for serious now. And so it lasted about, 15 minutes. Now I'm down to my Triumph Spitfire car. And I said, I don't know whether, first of all, I'm not going to lose my car because I don't even have the title to it right now. But I said, we'll play for the car. Well, what are you going to put against it? And I don't know what he was going to put against it. It was some old raggedy car he had at the time. But I said, yeah, we're good. I made that one last about 20 minutes. So now my class ring, my watch, and my car has suddenly disappeared. And now here's the deal. We're getting back to the arm length. He goes behind the backboard and on the baseline and jumps out and banks it off the backboard. Because he could do it anyway, but his arms are so long he could reach back there. So I couldn't make it for that shot. So finally, when I did finally figure out how to make it, what does he do? He moves 2 steps back. Oh, no. Now, that just put me out of total reality. Now I'm totally out of it. So that was his
I got to jump in and tell you guys that I actually wore that watch for a couple of days, and I showed it off to everybody in the camp and everything. and he's actually telling the truth for the most part, except I don't know about the car, because I had a beautiful 2-door 59 Ford that offset his Triumph, and
my battery wasn't working.
Yeah, and I do remember wearing that watch and almost didn't give it back to you.
Yeah. Well, that watch, though, I forgot to tell you at the time, and I think you probably found out, it only kept time in the morning and in the afternoon, in the evening. Because there's something wrong with it. It only kept time twice a day.
Oh, my God. Hey, that's Rick, that's why we have you on. Brian, you got to jump in here, bro.
Oh, no, that's fantastic, man. That is a fantastic story.
Hey, Brian, real quick, I'll jump in with a quick story. I actually like to play horse against guys because I had a guy at Virginia Tech, Paul Long. He would gamble and just bet on anything, and he actually could outshoot me. But, boy, it really makes you pay attention. So when I had my first year in the ABA with Minnesota, Mel Daniels, a Hall of Fame player, was our center. He wound up playing 8 years in the ABA with the Indiana Pacers after being traded from Minnesota. He and I played horse for hook shots. And this is the truth. I beat him one day at a $25. hitting 6 out of 10 hook shots from about 10 feet. I just had a knack for it. And that's where
Wow.
and then I remembered Rick Waldron, and I told him, I asked Mel, you want to play for your watch? I have a friend at Roanoke that had a nice watch, and I wanted from him, but we never did find him doing that.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness, that is fantastic. That's
Oh,
a
yes.
great story, man.
Hey, Ron. Well, the number one question I want to throw at you real quick. I know Brian's got the shotgun loaded. He's gonna come hit you up. But man, what was it like playing back then? Like,
Yeah.
you know, really, what was it like?
Absolutely got a good answer for you on that. When I was my last game was at George Washington in GW University. With Babe McCarthy was a coach then, who I wound up playing for eventually in New Orleans. I was drafted by the Washington Bullets. Bob Ferry, Danny Ferry's dad, came in as the general manager of the Bullets, and I didn't realize they were there at the game. And he said, "If we draft you, would you want to play for the Bullets?" Well, yeah, really? Duh, of course. And so when it got down that the ABA was just formulating with the Minnesota team, the coach was Jim Pollard, who had played with the Los Angeles Lakers, was known as the Kangaroo Kid. So I called my athletic director and my coach, and I said, you know, I'm drafted by the Bullets here in about the 6th or 7th round, but I was drafted about the 3rd or 4th round in Minnesota. So I thought to myself, and here's the kicker, I'm going to go to Washington. They have Earl Monroe, Wesley Unseld, who just passed away a couple of days ago at the age of 74,
Yeah.
Jack Marin, and Earl Monroe, and I believe it had Kevin Lockery at that time, who wound up coaching.
They did.
But
They
then,
did.
yeah, and yeah, you would know that, Rick. You're an
Yeah.
encyclopedia for this stuff. So I opted. We talked about it, and I opted to go to the Minnesota because you're asking me what was it like. Well, those 8 or 10 teams. Think about that. 8 times 10 or 8 times 12 is 80 or 90 players have a job. Where if I'm going to go to the NBA, I may not even make the NBA team, or if I did, I'd probably be sitting on the bench. So in hindsight, it paid off where we went to Minnesota, and we had Mel Daniels as the center and Donnie Freeman as the guard. Les Big Game Hunter from Loyola Chicago. They had just won a championship, I think, over Cincinnati. And so we had a really good team. We were 50-28, and I started every game and was, I think, 2nd or 3rd in the league in three-point shooting. And at the very playoff game at the end, I think they were playing Pittsburgh Pipers, and Connie Hawkins was on that team. Just one of the best players that I've ever
John
had a chance to
Brisker.
play against.
John Brisker.
And
too.
John Brisker, yeah.
Wow.
He would fight you in a heartbeat. You may know the story. I think he wound up in Africa or somewhere in the continent, and I believe he was a mercenary of some sort. But yeah, I played in some games where he would fight anybody. He and Wendell Ladner were probably the 2 of the fighters in the game. But anyway, I had to go into the military service and had to serve active duty, and Minnesota wound up going in 2nd place. And then the following year, that whole Minnesota team moved to Miami and became the Miami Floridians. And it was an excellent move. They put us up on Miami Beach and took care of us. And we had ball girls. There was a Wrigley chewing gum commercial with these twins, and they were in bikinis at the Miami Beach Convention Hall. And it just got a chance. And well, of course, you know the rest of the story. There were some great players. Louis Dampier from Kentucky, that was one of the best shooters.
Yep.
Willie Wise, Glenn Combs from Virginia Tech, who wound up playing 8 years also. So, yeah, it just gave everybody a really good chance. And the only drawback was we did not have national television. They did have local TV, and a lot of these teams just had to fold in the very end. But they lasted from 67 to 75. And then a lot of the ABA players went on into the NBA. And then, of course, Dr. J came along, Dan Issel, Connie Hawkins, of course, was there at the same time. So it was a lot of good players, and a lot of them wound up in the NBA.
I got a Dr. J story to tell when we get a break and when we get a little moke here.
All
Okay.
right.
Just
Go
a
ahead,
quick
Brian.
question.
All right,
Just a
gotta
quick
go.
question, Ron. See, you mentioned you mentioned some fantastic players, some fantastic names, legends of the game. I mean, I got a question. Do you think the players in the league of the ABA and what it actually brought to the game of basketball get enough recognition as far as today's game goes, or enough recognition in terms of how the NBA promotes the game? Because I mean, I mentioned this before in one of the earlier shows, that basketball itself around the world is influenced by the ABA, and a lot of countries and leagues and players don't know that, you know, by having shot clocks, by having a 3-point line, you know, by having entertainment and things of that nature. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the NBA has always fought the ABA because the ABA was coming up and infringing upon the NBA. The NBA didn't want to have anything to do with it. And then all of a sudden, the ABA came out with the red, white, and blue ball, the dunk contest, the 3-point line,
yes,
and all of these fantastic cheerleaders, and also these events that were happening, crazy events that were happening at halftime. Eventually, I think their recognition came about because they wound up using the 3-point line, wound up using the dunk contest. And I have to mention a guy named Bob Nittolicky and Scott Tarter, who is an attorney out of Indianapolis, and John Abrams, who's a eye doctor. That's the doctor for the Indiana Pacers as we speak. These guys have something called Dropping Dimes, and it's a charity event that they put on to help any of the players that are in dire straits or need some medical help. And they've really helped. In fact, just to get off the track just a tiny bit, last year we went to a reunion, the 50-year reunion of the Indiana Pacers, and there was 94 of us ABA players, including Rick Barry, George Gervin, Artis Gilmore. And we signed autographs for 4 hours, and it was the most gathering, Guinness Book of Records, for the most professional athletes signing autographs and charging no money. Everybody that came in bought a red, white, and blue basketball, and they got in line, and there was 900 people signing basketballs.
Wow.
So the people that remember the ABA when they were teenagers and their parents, they have an insight on the ABA like you wouldn't believe. There was so much memorabilia that they bought to be signed. And Nittolicky and some other, and these gentlemen that I've mentioned to you, they were able to, I'm not sure you're aware of it, but they sued the NBA, the San Antonio Spurs, New York, and Dallas, and someone else. And we did eventually get some pension money for every year you'd been in there. They're still attacking the NBA and trying to get the NBA to give a commensurate amount of pension that they've given the NBA players, not the sums of money that they're making, but back when Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, and those guys played in the late 50s, early 60s, something like that. But the NBA now realizes the ABA was a startup. They just didn't have the money and didn't have the regional experience, the national experience. Had they had a national TV contract. If you recall, in about the 6th or 7th year, a lot of the ABA and NBA played in all-star games, and I'd say about half of the guys wound up playing in the NBA. So guys like you guys, like CJ and Brian and what's the other guy's name that's with us? I forget.
Come on now.
Come on now.
I'm getting ready to hit you with the story here.
All right. I'm going to let you go. No. But the NBA now realizes that the ABA was a precursor. And now and by the way, when we use that red, white, and blue basketball, the first 2 weeks when you threw a bounce pass, the paint came off of that ball and it skidded. And they had to take that ball for 2 weeks, and we wound up playing with a brown NBA ball. And they redid that basketball, and they took away that skid and the paint mark.
Hey, I'm jumping in here real quick. A little bit of a compliment, but we're going to have to send you. Brian has been working on new ABA basketball, and we're starting to use it throughout the league. I have to send you one now. You'll love the quality. Like,
oh my gosh,
who
puts it out? Who puts it out, if I might ask?
I do. I've taken on the role of because I make basketballs, and I've made basketballs over here for like schools and teams and clubs and things of that nature. And then when me and CJ got to talking, because I'm a ABA team owner, and we were talking about the basketballs, and I was like, I can make a basketball. And so I did it. Created the red, white, and blue ABA ball, and
oh my gosh,
it's a lot better quality than than what everybody else is using. Like
Can I
tell
see
you,
it?
like,
Would I be able to see that on the internet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
we'll flick you over some stuff.
yeah,
Oh
we'll
my
flick you
gosh,
over
that
some
would be
stuff,
great.
man, because we're at Hoops Connection. But with it, and I find it ironic, the ABA just moved to not the ABA, but the NBA just moved to the Wilson basketball.
Okay.
And they're using the Wilson's Evolution as their ball.
I'm
Oddly
familiar with it.
enough, my basketball is made by the same company and the exact same standards, but I've actually added a soft foam core to the ball that I have, which makes it
Oh.
that much nicer, and it's a better shooter's ball. So
Well, Rick,
yeah,
Rick may have mentioned to you, I've been a shooting coach for about 10 years, and I've got about, I'd say 15 boys and girls colleges. Steve Blake that played in for the Lakers for 3 or 4 years. Went to Maryland. So I would definitely love to have a ball, and I'll use that ball and tell the story behind it.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
Brian, you were talking about balls. You know, they got the ball now where it absorbs sweat.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have.
Yeah, and it's amazing. They had them at the Final Four 2 years ago. When was the last Final Four? A year before last. They didn't have a Final Four this year, but they had the ball display. They were using it to demonstrate some different things. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the moisture. That's the moisture absorbent ball, which is what I use. So it's a more CJ has one.
Hey,
and I just sent off some balls to the Jacksonville Giants of the ABA. But they're fantastic balls.
Yeah.
We'll get you some. We'll
Yeah,
get you some
Okay,
for sure.
man,
I'll
that would be
tell you, we had I was at our gym, and I was just shooting, and one of these guys that is in the league, but not with us, in another league, and he said, you know, what ball is that, man? I told him, oh, it's from our league, you know, it's ABA ball. He looked at it, and he goes, who do you get to do your ball? But we do our own balls. And he's looking at it, he goes, man, this ball's like worth $125. Like, you know, he could just tell the quality was there, you know. So, you know, we know we're onto something. So we'll make sure you get one.
CJ Brian. Go ahead, Rick.
Now, I was going to tell CJ, because I love CJ like the brother I never had. CJ, just FYI, you know, the prerequisite for that ball, you got to sweat. You got to sweat. You can't absorb something that's not there.
Tell me about it. Okay.
It's all right.
It's all right. Hey, you know what? You know what? When we get you here, my first thing is to get you on the court.
I can't wait.
Here we go.
I cannot wait.
Take a look at that wristwatch.
Yeah.
I quit wearing a watch. I don't wear a watch anymore. I use myself.
Brian, CJ, are you guys familiar with the St. Louis Spirit
Oh,
story?
yeah.
You're familiar with that?
Oh yeah.
Well, at the ABA reunion in Indianapolis, when we were there, Nitalicki called one of the Silner brothers, either Dan Silner or I think the other one's Ozzie. One of the two passed away not too long ago, and Nitalicki called the other one and said, look, we're putting on an ABA reunion. Could you help us a little bit? Well, Silner donated every single penny to pay for, I think, 140 rings. And the master of ceremonies was Bob Costas.
Wow.
And they introduced each one of us in the Indiana Pacer Coliseum. And Dr. J was so good that he stayed back so that people wouldn't, you know, gather around him and create a disturbance from the other guys. He was really good about that. Anyway, one of the Silner brothers footed a bill for every single one of those rings. And a lot of guys got it posthumously that it passed away, and a lot of their wives were there. It was one of the most fantastic weekends. I only wish that I had gone to the 30-year reunion up there, because then Roger Brown was still there. Mel Daniels, who's passed away, Roger Brown, both of them Hall of Fame players. Wow. And then in this 50-year reunion, it was just a fantastic sight to see all the guys you played with against. Of course, you probably saw in my little resume thing, I was traded, I think, in 3 years. I played with 5 different teams. And I was telling Rick one day they love you one night because you're shooting the ball well and scoring 30, and the next night somebody else is doing it. So, hey, we're going to send you to so-and-so. But I considered it a great opportunity. I wound up playing with the Carolina Cougars. I wound up playing with the New Orleans Buccaneers and played with Doug Moe and also the New York Nets. And there's a couple of books out. If I can just tell you real quick, there's an Indiana Pacer book out called Reborn by Mark Monteith. He's a guy up in Indianapolis that's really a historian like you wouldn't believe. And then Bob Nettles, he put out a book called We Changed the Game, and it's the historical significance of how the Pacers nearly folded. And I didn't realize it. They put on a marathon to raise money to actually keep the franchise going. And, of course, they wound up winning 3 championships. Yeah, and then there's another book out called Loose Balls that's probably one of the best historians. Terry Pluto wrote that.
Yeah, that's where I got the Marvin Bad News Barn story from.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly right.
Oh, cool, man, cool. Well, we definitely feel honored to have you on here today, man. Really, and we're about to wrap this thing up. Got probably about 8 minutes left before we have to close it all down here. So we definitely.
Well, if you ever want to do it again, just give me a call and ask a few questions, and we can get into some more stuff. It's a lot more little interesting stories and that people would get a kick out of, I'm sure.
I'd love to hear it.
Oh man, we're definitely going to have you back for sure. Like, okay, no doubt about it.
I want to tell you my Dr. J story.
Okay, go ahead and hit us.
I'm home from school. I was a freshman at Lees McRae Junior College, and I come home one weekend, and it's a game in Roanoke, Virginia. This is in October, late September, early October. And the Virginia Squires are playing the Kentucky Colonels. And the Kentucky Colonels got Artis Gilmore, they got Dan Issel, they got Louis Dampier, they're loaded. Yeah. The Squires, I still remember them, they got this young guy, no one ever heard of him. He left school early. And those days you couldn't leave. The NBA could not take you unless you're graduating class.
Yeah.
They couldn't take underclassmen. But because this guy, he led the nation in rebounding as a junior at the University of Massachusetts. And it was one Julius Erving. And so I go to the game, and it's his first game. This is his first game. The owner of the Squires was a guy named Al Foreman. Anyway, they come down on the break one time, and a guy in the middle of the floor named Charlie Scott got the ball, and they got Fatty Taylor on one wing, and this it wasn't Dr. J then. It was Jules was coming on the right side, and the Kentucky Colonels has got 7'4" Artis Gilmore in the hole waiting on you to come on in there. But anyway, Charlie Scott gave it up about the top of the key, extended on the right-hand side. Julius Erving caught it with one hand like you would catch a volleyball or a tennis ball and went airborne. Now, keep in mind, there's about 600 people in this gym, in this Coliseum. I mean, it's 700 people. And I'm sitting down under the basket, kind of to the right of the basket. And all of a sudden, this guy takes off. And he just keeps going up, up, and up. And I go, holy, where is he going? And all of a sudden, 7'4", I got a picture of this now, 7'4" Artis Gilmore was right there waiting on him with his 7.5-foot arm span, wingspan. Both of them is up there toward the square. Now, not toward the rim, toward the square. And I go, oh my God, this is going to be a major collision. No, Julius brings the ball back down to about his forehead, goes behind the backboard and dunks it from the other side. The backboard is those portable backboards like you roll out, was kind of going back and forth, kind of maneuvering. I said, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And how can I say this? The rest is history. And then but that's the most incredible thing. And again, I'm sure there's no videotape of this. There's no nothing to document that other than me. And I'm legit when it comes to telling stories like that.
When we have more time too, I got a couple of really good things about Rick Barry and a couple of other players, because I've talked to Rick quite a bit. He showed me how to do an autograph. We'll save that for another time. It's an interesting story. And I'll also tell you the story of his underhand free throws.
Fantastic.
Give you something to think about.
Yeah, well, we definitely will have you back. Don't even worry about
Good.
that, man. Don't even worry about that. And I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to even having a chat with you on the phone every now and then from time to time. So
Absolutely.
it's gonna
Absolutely.
Be great. It's gonna be great. All right,
CJ, you know what I always say? Never let the truth stand in the way of a good story.
and that's why we pay you the big bucks, bro.
See, there we go again.
Brian, I was on the phone
right now.
I was on the phone with your agent today. We're going to be talking. We got a meeting set up for this weekend, so don't worry.
I didn't know. My agent still hadn't called me.
I told him to keep it under wraps until we can, make sure we got the right deals. Yeah. So, gentlemen.
My agent's over in Orlando getting ready for this NBA season to get kicked off here. So I'll be there.
There you go, man. Hey, look, guys, I want to thank everybody because, we started this from nothing, and we do have a unique position being part of the ABA, the new ABA going forward, but never forgetting what got us here, and hopefully, we get the opportunity to build to make it something proud for the players of the past, and I'm going to always keep trying to reach out to people from ABA, NBA, everybody, because like Brian said, the ABA itself kind of helped make the NBA what it is today, so, you got to pay homage to your roots. So Ron,
let me know, real quickly, let me know if you want to try to get another player. I'm in touch with about 5 or 6 former ABA players. Glenn Combs, of course, as Rick was saying, John Wetzel used to play with the Lakers and coached the Phoenix Suns. He's retired and lives in Hawaii. So I've got access to about a half dozen ABA and NBA players that probably would do exactly what you want to do.
Done.
Love it, man.
Done.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah. We're all basketball players here. And, we've been in the game, been around the game forever and a day, so this is awesome. It's a great feeling to be in touch with people that are like-minded and actually love the game, love the league, The name ABA, is just, no matter where you go, people know, and I like that. Guys, let me say thank you. Ron, it was a privilege. We're looking forward to having you again. Rick.
Thanks a lot.
That Dr. J, that was awesome. I want to see the photo.
Fantastic.
Brian, you the man over there in Melbourne, bro. And we're working on the contract. Checks in the mail. Gentlemen, we'll all do it again. Thank you a lot for being on the ABA one-on-one. Take care.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right, guys.
The American Basketball Association is the largest pro league in the world. Some great opportunities for team ownership are available, and the cost may surprise you. If you've ever thought about team ownership in a pro league, give us the opportunity to help make it a reality. Reach out to us for more info. For USA teams at www.abaliveaction.com. In Australia, go to www.abaleagueaustralia.com.
Have you heard of Modere? They have some of the safest products on the planet, free from over 3,000 harmful ingredients. They send me product specials and birthday surprises, and every time I order, I could win a Modere Escape from the rewards program. The easy-to-use app means I can order anywhere, anytime. Give it a try. Download the app. Use my promo code 3i6W8K and get $10 shopping credit on your first order. Share with friends and they get $10 as well. Modere. Stylish, safer, smarter.
Modere is a proud sponsor of ABA 101. We have lots of athletes using their liquid biocells like former NFL player Willie Harper. Have a look for yourself. You can either go to www.modere.com or www.modere.com.au. Use our show promo code 3i6W8K. Get $10 off on your first order. It costs you nothing to look. Well, that's going to do it for this week. Remember, you can keep up with every episode by subscribing via our website. Follow us on social media and tell your friends about us. Next week, new guests, more basketball tips, more basketball stories about the game we all love. Till then, be safe and keep your eyes on the ball.
Give it them, doc, give him a bone. Give it them, doc, a bone. I give it them, doc, give him a bone. Give it them, doc, a bone. Give him a bone.